South Florida, a prime target in the tropics. In the line of fire, storm after storm, cone after cone. We've had a series of close calls, but no direct hits in years. Now, Weather Team 6 is tracking every inch of the tropics to keep you ahead of the storm and get you in the know so you can stay safe.
You can see new.
Chief Meteorologist John Morales breaks down the season. How many storms can you expect? Your first look at what the experts are saying. Tools behind the track. Meteorologist Ryan Phillips shows us how technology is fine-tuning the forecast path of the storm. Plus, the exclusive tool our team uses to give you up-to-the-second weather coverage you can trust. Protecting your property. Meteorologist Jennifer Reeves with what you need to know, whether you live on the ground or high in the sky. Inspect what you expect. Do you know what's really covered by your insurance policies? Meteorologist Shiri Spear cuts through the confusion and gets to the core of what steps you need to take before and in the hours after a storm.
The center of the hurricane is located about 40 miles due east of Miami.
And the Category 5 wake-up call that changed South Florida hurricane seasons forever. Hank Tester shows us the lessons learned from Andrew. Get informed. Be prepared. Now, from NBC6, this is Hurricane Season 2012.
Good evening. I'm Chief Meteorologist John Morales for NBC6. In the next 30 minutes, we're going to arm you with the information you need to stay safe if a storm threatens or strikes South Florida. So what can you expect? Well, it's tough to tell when we've already had 2 storms form even before the season starts.
2011 was one of the busiest hurricane seasons ever, with 19 named storms. This year, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration is predicting a near-normal hurricane season. They are forecasting 9 to 15 named storms, with 4 to 8 of those strengthening into hurricanes, and 1 to 3 of those becoming major hurricanes, Category 3 or higher. This year, the wild card is the effects from El Nino, helping to lessen the hurricane risk.
El Nino tends to increase the wind shear. Wind shear tends then to suppress or even kill off hurricanes.
While no major hurricane above a Category 3 has made landfall in the U.S. in 6 years, it only takes one to make for a bad season.
Just because we're predicting a near normal season doesn't mean anybody's off the hook at all.
20 years ago, in 1992, Hurricane Andrew, a Category 5 monster, slammed into us here in South Florida. Believe it or not, in a season with only 7 storms.
As technology evolves, our ability to know where a storm is headed has grown as well. Meteorologist Ryan Phillips joins us now with the latest innovations and what they mean to you.
Over the last few decades, technology has played a vital role in improving forecasts, both for day-to-day weather here in South Florida and for tropical forecasting around the world.
Global monitoring with satellites, data from aircraft and buoys, paired with more computing power, has helped immensely.
Over the last 10 years, the models that we use for track forecasting especially have gotten a lot better. They have a lot more detail now. There's a lot more data going into them. We've learned how to use that data in more effective ways.
Dr. Michael Brennan is a senior hurricane specialist at the National Hurricane Center. He has seen the improvements firsthand.
Essentially, the errors have been cut in half over the last 15 years.
Checking in on 1 window. But the intensity forecast continues to be a challenge each season. Oftentimes we have a good idea of where a storm is heading, but we are less certain about just how strong it will be.
The intensity forecasting has really been stagnant for the last 10 or 20 years.
The environment around a storm is much easier to decode. Understanding the core of a hurricane is a complicated problem, and accessing it has only been accomplished through dangerous hurricane hunter flights into a storm and by watching it via satellite from above.
The intensity forecasting is more of a problem of the inner core of the storm and the environment, whereas the track forecasting is much more about just the environment.
Each hurricane season, the internet is littered with computer forecasts. But do they tell you everything you need to know?
There's really value in that human forecast. We can make decisions and we know which models to trust. We know what the trends are. We know what the changes in the forecast are from cycle to cycle. Again, the models are allowed to go all over the place from one cycle to the next. The official forecast, we really work very hard to make that consistent. That's the best forecast.
We can see a storm days away through satellites and computer models. But what happens when it's at our doorstep? That's when the advantage of having the only live HD radar broadcasting in South Florida comes in. With our radar, you can see inside the storm. We can illustrate where the storm is and where it's heading. While local stations can show you where a hurricane is and where it might be heading, our system is pinpoint accurate over land. Information about a storm processed so fast, it brings you the details of the storm over 6 minutes faster than anyone else. Our exclusive, live, local Doppler radar also gives us the ability to see how strong the winds are inside the storm, as well as the ability, in high definition, to take you street to street, neighborhood to neighborhood with high-resolution, street-level mapping. This is a tool unlike any other in South Florida. This technology, coupled with hurricane tracking tools and the experience of Weather Team 6, all combine to help you stay safe and informed this hurricane season. Finally, the one thing you need to remember this hurricane season, forecasting is a partnership between NBC6 and the National Hurricane Center, both working together, making sure you are informed and prepared.
You can be confident that there's a lot of work and a lot of thought and a lot of care that goes into that official forecast.
As soon as a storm forms, we'll be keeping you updated on air, online, and on the go. Make sure you go to NBCMiami.com and sign up for our e-alerts. That way, you won't miss a thing. Ryan Phillips, NBC6.
Coming up on Hurricane Season 2012. There's more to insurance than just one blanket policy. How to make sure you're completely covered. And simple tips you can take to make your home safe before a storm. Trust me, your neighbors will thank you for it. Plus, 20 years ago, a storm ripped through South Florida, changing how we prepare and live. See how in Lessons from Andrew.